I'm Reisuka, the cosplaying paleontologist, and I'm a real-life paleontologist with a PhD that studies dinosaur and bird evolution. I'm going to be watching the new Jurassic World Rebirth trailer with you guys and responding to it given my professional expertise. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that bell notification button.
Dr. Henry Loomis, this is Zora Bennett. I'm a mission specialist.
Sorry, what mission?
This would be a medical breakthrough that could save countless lives. It comes from the largest dinosaurs on the planet.
Oh my God. Fortunately for us, all these species exist.
Okay, now before watching the Jurassic World trailer, I did read the kind of sneak peek Vanity Fair article. And first off, the Vanity Fair article started with the quote, "Dinosaurs no longer inspire love." And I just want to take a quick second to rebuke that, because just look at like all of my accounts and videos. Like, there is so much love for dinosaurs. I think dinosaurs wouldn't be important to us, wouldn't be talked about, wouldn't inspire our imaginations if they didn't inspire love and awe. So I just had to get that out of the way. Anyway, back to reacting to the trailer. The reason I bring up that article is that in the Vanity Fair article, they did say that paleontologists were going to be the main characters for Jurassic World this time, which I'm excited about, and that the film was kind of going to return to this darker kind of lesson and theme and aura, I guess, feel that the early Jurassic Parks had, like 1, 2, and 3, where they were more questioning the morality of science and having kind of a clear story to it, kind of treating the dinosaurs, using them as more like aspects of horror as well as awe, kind of like an alien. Whereas Jurassic World, I think, has just more focused on the dinosaurs as like a commercial endeavor, a theme park, which is interesting to see how the theme park would have worked if Jurassic World, you know, did become a theme park and become successful. But I'm really hoping for a return to that trope from the old movies and to kind of approach the story and these animals from a more scientific perspective again. So far in the trailer, I'm noticing they included some titanosaurs. They didn't specify, I believe, which species of titanosaur they are, but it's really cool to see titanosaurs included in Jurassic World. Of course, titanosaurs are some of the biggest animals to ever live on Earth. Some of them were larger than blue whales. They're really cool animals. There's lots of species of them, and typically we only find pieces of their vertebrae or pieces of their legs, and then we're able to reconstruct everything else by comparing it to other dinosaurs, like other titanosaurs and sauropods that are closely related, and kind of reconstructing a skeleton from there. So in terms of the accuracy of the crests of these dinosaurs, we can't really say if titanosaurs had crests. I don't think we've found crests of titanosaurs, but that's because, like I said, in general, titanosaur skeletons are just usually pretty incomplete, and usually we're only going to be finding their legs remaining. We usually don't find skulls. We usually find vertebrae, legs, toes, and that's it. Now, I'm also not really sure what the genetic cure would be and what species it's for. If it's for humans, going to sauropods as a group really puzzles me, because sauropods are not related to anything that's alive today. I mean, sauropods were closely related to theropods, which are the group that evolved of dinosaurs that evolved into birds, things like T-Rex, Velociraptor, and things like that. So if we were going to find a genetic cure that would be helpful for animals living today, I think it should come from theropods, if anything. But even then, they would be so different that I don't honestly know if they would be helpful for humans, especially when you consider the fact that birds are some of the least likely carriers of diseases that can actually jump to humans and affect them. It's not really likely that we could find a cure for humanity within these dinosaurs, especially within the sauropod group, so that's a little confusing to me as to what the logic is there. Now, if they're trying to find a genetic cure for all dinosaurs, maybe the dinosaurs are sick in this movie, you know, I'm not sure. Again, it's like sauropods are a really specific group. I think you would want to get something from an earlier dinosaur, like a sauropodomorph, or, you know, a really early thing that then a dinosaur that then evolved into theropods and sauropods, or that then evolved into ornithischian dinosaurs. Like, sauropods are by no means the universal common ancestor of dinosaurs. So if you're trying to find a cure for all the dinosaurs, my best bet would be to go to the ancestor of all the dinosaurs. Part is a little confusing, but I do love the animation of the sauropods. I love the long tails. The only thing is, I don't really love the stance. It's not necessarily likely that sauropods would kind of like have that upright, it's just very reminiscent of Brachiosaurus to me, that upright Brachiosaurus stance. It's more likely that they would have been stretched out more like a Diplodocus stance to be able to balance their massive weight as they were walking, and then maybe they could lift their head to a tree or something if they were taking a moment to stand. So it's okay. I'm also not sure about the level of thinness on the tails. That just seems a little too thin to me. It does look really cool, but I'm not really sure how accurate that is to me. I mean, we haven't found soft tissue again to be able to confirm how thick their tails would have been. But I think that using the tail as a defense, you would probably want your tail to be thicker. To me, like, the thin tail looks cool, but I don't think it would be the best defense. On the other hand, you could say, well, they don't really need a defense. They're the biggest dinosaurs, biggest animals on Earth. You know, they could still maybe use that thin tail like a whip. To me, I think if we calculated all of the tail vertebrae we found of titanosaurs, which again isn't many, I don't think it would like go to be that thin at the end. But again, we don't really have complete titanosaurs. So that's something that we still need to find. And of course, with the Jurassic World universe and Jurassic Park universe, I know that these things are like genetically modified and supposed to be kind of an amalgamation of a dinosaur plus frogs and other animals and things like that. So we're giving them a little movie magic leeway here, but those are my thoughts as a real paleontologist. So let's keep watching.
Us, all these species exist in one isolated place. Can you be ready tomorrow?
I can guarantee your safety. I mean, more or less.
More or less?
I do love the museum aesthetic, so it does seem like at least some of the characters are going to be paleontologists, even though they're kind of going off to get this genetic information for some kind of genetic cure. If paleontologists are working with genetic material in the new Jurassic World, that is something that's really cool and exciting to see in the movies, because that is something that I'm doing, that many paleontologists like me on the cutting edge of science are doing. We're starting to combine all of our knowledge about bones and fossils and skeletons and combine that with what we know about what we call molecular data, or data based on DNA. Now, that DNA is from living birds, because we aren't able to get DNA from dinosaurs because all of their bones, from extinct dinosaurs anyway, because all of their bones are fossilized, so they've been turned into rock. So we can see traces of cells, but we can't extract actual DNA from it. But we do use DNA from living animals to kind of help determine how these animals could have evolved, and then combine that with data from the fossils that we have. But we are starting to combine this DNA data with all the data we're getting from fossils of dinosaurs, extinct dinosaurs, and fossils of birds, and we're combining those to be able to get a better understanding of the KPG impact extinction event and how they evolved into living birds. So that's a really cool aspect if that's what they're showing in this movie. I think that's really cool that they're kind of showing where paleontology is going as a field.
He's your guy?
We're the best at moving things and people in and out of places they shouldn't be.
Move up towards Barbados, avoid government patrol, but there aren't that many anymore.
Why's that?
No one's dumb enough to go where we're going.
This island was the research facility for the original Jurassic Park.
We need DNA from the three big...
Now, this part is really interesting to me. There's not really a lot to comment on from a professional standpoint, but I do love to see the velociraptors in kind of the cloning jars. I think it looks always really haunting and cool. And the idea that they're going to kind of the rejected island of Jurassic Park, where the worst dinosaurs were, or like the early experiments of these genetically modified dinosaurs were, is a really fun, interesting setup that I'm really excited excited to see more of.
Dinosaurs.
Do we have to get a sample from an egg?
I suppose we could try and get it from the parent, but they're a flying carnivore the size of an F-16.
Maybe we should make it quick.
Now, again, I'm not really sure what the logic is for trying to get samples from 3 biggest dinosaurs. That kind of doesn't have anything to do with how you would medically come up with a viable medicine. You would base it more on what is evolutionarily related to each other and how it's going to attack whatever pathogen or disease it is you're trying to get rid of. So that's something we're going to have to find out more about in the movie, I guess. Yeah, logically, there's not really scientifically a reason for collecting samples from the 3 biggest dinosaurs just because they're big to be able to get some cure. Now, I also see that there are a few pterosaurs they've shown. I know Jurassic World has announced that Quetzalcoatlus is going to be back in this movie. To me, this pterosaur, the crest does not look right for it to be Quetzalcoatlus, although, and the neck is kind of too short compared to the rest of its body. So if they want this to be Quetzalcoatlus, it's not really quite accurate that way. It looks like it's about the size of Quetzalcoatlus, maybe a little bit smaller. So it'll be interesting to see if this is some kind of hybrid pterosaur. I'm not sure. But yeah, again, the crest facing backwards like that isn't really something that is indicative of Quetzalcoatlus. It's more indicative of other pterosaurs. There's a huge variety of species of pterosaurs, and that's not my specialty as a paleontologist, so I'm not sure exactly what species this would be, but there are definitely a bunch of other pterosaurs this could possibly be. But I'm not really sure if Jurassic World is kind of showing that there's going to be a diversity of pterosaurs, or if they're just kind of showing, well, you know, this is like the genetically modified, most mutant, most messed up pterosaur that we made in Jurassic Park on this dangerous island. So we'll have to see about that.
These dinosaurs were too dangerous for the original park.
Please don't say they're raptors. They're raptors.
The worst of the worst.
Yeah, of course we're gonna have velociraptors in this movie, which I love the velociraptors of Jurassic Park. They're one of the main things that made me want to become a paleontologist, so I'm definitely excited for those. Didn't seem like much was different from them just from seeing the claws. You know, they had their typical raptor claw. But then we see this big foot, and I've seen a lot going around online saying that this is the mutant D-Rex. Now, let's see if they show a little bit more here. Yeah, so it looks like that foot is supposed to be connected to the D-Rex. Now, when I first watched this trailer, I didn't even quite see the D-Rex, and I didn't really understand what was going on. But like now I've been looking up some drawings of what D-Rex looks like, and I know a lot of you have been asking about my opinion on it. So it seems like D-Rex is really kind of a failed experiment where, from my understanding, they may have tried to combine humans with dinosaurs, which is horrific. I'm not sure why they would have done that. I don't know what case you could make for wanting to do that. If that is the case, that's horrifying and sad. We are mammals, so we're very far removed from birds. Birds are more closely related to reptiles than they are to us, so it would just be a really difficult fusion across many different orders of biology, of taxonomy, so I'm not really sure why you would want to do that. So that could be something they'll talk to us about in the movie. My interpretation of D-Rex is, first of all, that would be horrific, but second of all, to me, it really reminds me of a xenomorph, like from Alien. It kind of reminds me of, if you've seen the last Alien Resurrection, or even Romulus, when there were aliens that were fused with human babies and they looked very disturbing. It kind of gives me that feel, which, as horrific as that is, that could be kind of something really interesting and a really interesting theme and idea to explore. I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole because I'm just not sure what they're going to do in the movie. So we can discuss that when they reveal what it is. But I think, that would be a really cool kind of idea to like the idea of like humans fusing with their own creations and creating these nightmares that are wreaking havoc on the world. I think that's a dark idea that is in line with kind of the first Jurassic Park. So it could be really interesting. I think it kind of depends on why it's in the movie and what they're going for and what the moral of the story is that they're telling. But I also just think like trying to fuse a human with any dinosaur, would be very wrong. And like, yeah, I don't see how it could be successful. But if you're going to pick a dinosaur, I don't know why you would pick T-Rex versus like a small theropod like Velociraptor or something closer to something living again, because velociraptors and small theropods are closer to living birds and seems like they'd be a similar size to us. So I'm not really sure. It'll be interesting to see if they kind of give us insight into why they tried to fuse them. So yeah, that'll be interesting. Now, here I caught a glimpse of the Dilophosaurus, and I have to say I do, before I get into the Dilophosaurus, I do like the new color schemes and kind of skin patterning and just the patterns in general that they have on the dinosaurs, especially the sails like on Dilophosaurus and Spinosaurus once we get to that. I think that it does make the dinosaurs look different, but also more realistic. We can't really know what patterns dinosaurs had on their skin. There are a few fossils that give us insight to that I've done videos on. But for the most part, we can't really know until we find more fossilized skin of dinosaurs. But it is likely that they would have had all kinds of patterns, especially those that we see in reptiles and birds today. So I do like that they're kind of playing around with that and not keeping, if they're not going to add feathers, at least they're kind of playing around with patterning. Ideally, the theropods would have feathers, not Dilophosaurus necessarily, but velociraptors. But I still like that they're playing around with kind of these other parts of the dinosaur aesthetically, and I think they did a really good job with that. Now back to Dilophosaurus. Real Dilophosaurus, so the real Dilophosaurus looks like the Jurassic Park Dilophosaurus, but it would have been a lot bigger. I'm about 5'4" tall, and a Dilophosaurus would probably like come up to my head when it was standing. So Dilophosaurus would have been a lot bigger. It's for some reason made smaller in Jurassic Park and Jurassic World, and it would have had the crest on its head. We do know that, but it wouldn't have the frill. The frill is something that was added in the Jurassic Park movie. It does look cool, but it's something that's based on living lizards that have a frill that they expand when they're looking for mates or they're trying to scare off predators. And we also have no evidence that any dinosaur was able to spit poison or had venom of any kind. That's not something that probably could ever be fossilized, unfortunately, so it's something we'll never know. But it's something that's always been added to the Dilophosaurus of Jurassic Park, but I just kind of wanted to put that out there. That Dilophosaurus is really cool, and I think the real Dilophosaurus in some ways is actually more scary than the one in Jurassic Park and Jurassic World because it is larger. Now, it looks like, again, we're going to have T-Rex. Not really much to comment on here because I can't see really most of the T-Rex, but again, I like the patterning. I like the new playing around with the aesthetics. Now, it looks like there is a scene here where someone's swimming and a T-Rex is going after them. This could be accurate if the T-Rex is in shallow enough water where the T-Rex is just able to be walking through the water and then chomp the person that way. It's not going to be accurate if the T-Rex is in a situation where it's swimming over deep water. Even though I know that's been shown in a really convincing way in documentaries, even recently, there is no evidence to show that large theropods, including T-Rex, swam over bodies of water. And in fact, the studies we have done actually show that they would not have been capable of doing that without drowning, just because they were so heavy. So if they were in the water at all, they only would have really been able to kind of almost doggy paddle, but really what it is they're walking along the bottom of the shore, so their weight is still supported. So there you go. That's my thoughts about this scene.
Survival is a long shot.
And here it's really exciting because we can see there's a new mosasaur. It looks like there might even be a shark. I'm not sure. And it looks like there are new Spinosaurs. I love, again, the sail, the design, the colors of the Spinosaurus. It looks really cool. Spinosaurus, I'm not sure how they're going to do it here, but in Jurassic Park 3, that Spinosaurus is actually pretty accurate. We think that Spinosaurus would have likely been bipedal or walked on two legs when it was out of the water, and it would have been aquatic. It would have mostly ate fish. I have a whole video on Spinosaurus out that I recently put out, by the way, if you want to check that out on YouTube. But the thing that is not accurate is, number one, Spinosaurus would have had a small bite force because it mostly ate fish. So it's not going to be able to really compete with something like T-Rex and kill it. T-Rex had a much more powerful bite force. It could crush cars. It was one of the most powerful bite forces ever. It really is the most powerful bite force an animal has ever had other than Megalodon. Whereas the bite force of Spinosaurus would be quite weak. And we think that based on CT scanning all of the available Spinosaur material we have and putting it to tests with models, we think that Spinosaurus likely was not the best swimmer. It probably would have been a weak swimmer that would forage for fish in shallow water and kind of along the coast. It was really too buoyant to be able to dive into deep water, and it probably wouldn't be very good at swimming in deep water. So that's where this scene looks like it's not really accurate so far to me, is the Spinosaurs going out in deep water and being like these really strong swimmers. We don't think that's accurate based on what we have.
What the hell are those?
They're helping the mosasaur defend territory. Stop.
It's also highly unlikely that the Spinosaurs would help the mosasaur. It's highly unlikely that the Spinosaurs would even be in a pack of their own, first of all. I mean, they were large theropods, so maybe a couple of them would work together occasionally, kind of like T-Rex did or even Allosaurus did. But as for the most part, as a big theropod predator, you're kind of a loner because it's really difficult to be able to get enough prey or scavenge enough meat to sustain yourself. And so usually these guys were pretty territorial, and they would not be hunting in packs like Velociraptor or these smaller theropods would that needed help to be able to capture prey. On top of that, mosasaurs are very far removed from dinosaurs. Mosasaurs and ichthyosaurs and plesiosaurs, these are all marine reptiles. They are more closely related to snakes than they are to dinosaurs. So these things would not be able to communicate. Like, it would be like a monkey trying to communicate with, a grackle. Like, yeah, maybe they could bark out some things and kind of communicate, but they're not really going to be able to form a plan and help each other necessarily. And the mosasaur was likely not intelligent enough for that. Mosasaurus also, it was a good swimmer, but it was not able to necessarily like turn very quickly and be a very aerobic, acrobatic swimmer, if that makes sense. So these kind of like really acrobatic turns you're seeing with the Spinosaurus and Mosasaurus, again, that's not very accurate based on what we know so far.
Hunt.
None of what you just said is good.
Now, the Spinosaurus they're showing here, again, on the one hand, I like the ambush angle, but it kind of looks like it's almost a quadrupedal Spinosaurus, which again would not be accurate. And it kind of, the way they have animated the neck and everything, it kind of just looks like an alligator-ish model to me more than anything, which is not accurate. Spinosaurus from Jurassic Park 3 would be more accurate because it definitely had more of like a dinosaur-like body. Like, these things were not walking around on all fours ambushing the way that a crocodile would, even though maybe their teeth have some similarities to crocodiles, but they are not. Again, these are dinosaurs. These Spinosaurs are more closely related to birds than they were to crocodiles. So these things are not going around like turning into crocodiles. So I can't really tell like if that's what's fully going to be happening here, but I hope they're not going to go back on their Jurassic Park 3 depiction of Spinosaurus. It also looks like the mosasaur is a little bit updated. There's not really enough here for me to make a call on how accurate it is yet. It looks a little bit smaller, which would be more accurate to the real size of a mosasaurus. Like the biggest mosasaur we have is Tylosaurus, and I think the original mosasaur from Jurassic Park World was at least twice as big as Tylosaurus was. So this one looks a little more accurate size-wise. Other than that, I can't really tell a huge amount about what's going on. It's not really likely that mosasaur would be able to jump out of the water like a dolphin, because it more would use its tail like a rudder. It wasn't really like a dolphin, like flapping its tail up and down and doing acrobatic swimming. Again, this was like a big behemoth, like submarine-like thing, using its tail and flippers as a rudder back and forth to kind of slowly steer itself. So the speed and everything, it looks really cool in a movie, but it's not probably how mosasaurs would have been moving around. Okay, so that's the trailer. Again, I really hope that the movie's good. I'm looking forward to it regardless. I love Jurassic Park. Like I said, Jurassic Park is part of what made me become a paleontologist. It's always been super inspiring to me. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the movie too, and I hope you enjoyed getting some real paleontology expertise and commentary on this. So don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on the latest dinosaur science and news from a real paleontologist.